Oxford, last week. Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance now. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call next on the agenda. All committee members present, along with Paul Bach and Ron Reddick. Next thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda. Second.
That was
Tim. Seconded by Wells. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is public comment. Everyone has 3 minutes. Go ahead, and the floor is open for public comment.
Jack, I have some printed things that were emailed to me. Can I just pass those out as part of public comment? One of them is a statement about, an ordinance and height, the Grand Haven ordinance. The other, was presented to the Township Board, at their last meeting, but that person can't be here. One's by Robert Scott and the other's by Kathy Frank. The one by Robert Scott points out his question at the top is who pays the bills in Douglas Township? And goes through to demonstrate the percentage of people who are leasing, not leasing, and contributing to the finances for our township. So if you take a minute and look those over. And this is something I should read out loud for the public as well.
We can, you wanna have it read out loud, or just put it on file in the office? It's up to the.
I make motion to be read out loud. I second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Cindy, go ahead and read it.
Kathy Frank sent an email. I shared the wind energy section of the Grand Haven Charter Township with you for consideration as part of the ongoing discussion and work the planning commission is doing on the Douglas Township ordinance. At the board meeting December 1, the attorney was very clear that an ordinance needs to be able to stand up to the scrutiny of a court in the event of a lawsuit regarding exclusionary zoning. This particular wind energy ordinance from Grand Haven GH Charter Township was approved by its board with at least one trustee, Ron Reddick, an attorney involved. I'm sure that the board in Grand Haven felt confident that it would withstand legal scrutiny before it was approved. I am presenting this ordinance for Douglas Township consideration as the legal scrutiny was one of such concern December 1st. You have my permission to share this email with other board members. If you feel it would be helpful, thank you, Kathy Craig. Because I print in black and white, she highlighted section 3.04 wind energy facilities, B.4, the height, the total height of a wind energy facility shall not exceed 150 feet, including the height of any structure that it is mounted on. So that's one. The other by Robert Scott. Who pays the bills in Douglas Township? When Albert Jongawanger and Jonga Ward and other proponents of big wind talk about the property rights of landowners who have leased with Apex, they often talk about the property taxes as landowners pay. It's as if they're saying the payment of property taxes buys them the right to do whatever they want with their land regardless of the impact on the rest of us. Yet the amount leased landowners pay in the property taxes is quite small when compared to the taxes paid by property owners who have not signed leases. Take Douglas Township, for example. The attached table lists the landowners in Douglas Township who have entered into wind energy easement agreements, aka leases, with Apex, based on what has been recorded with the Montcalm Register of Deeds to November 29th, 2021. Also listed are the tax parcel numbers for the properties covered by the landowners' leases and the 2021 taxable value and classification code for each property. Of course, taxable values are the basis for determining the amount of property taxes each landowner pays. The applicable tax rate is multiplied by a property's taxable value to determine the amount of tax. As the table shows, the total taxable value of the Apex lease properties in Douglas Township is $2,644,013. However, based on Montcalm County Department of Equalization records, the taxable value of all properties in Douglas Township is broken down as follows. Agricultural, $12,580,270. Residential, $69,048,886. Commercial, $898,052. Industrial, $46,459, for a total of $82,573,667. This means lease landowners only pay 3.2% of the property taxes paid by all property owners in Douglas Township. It is certainly possible that Apex has leases that are not yet recorded, and they may acquire additional leases. If that's the case, I will gladly update this information as soon as Apex provides copies of those documents. Also, some landowners might be planning to sign leases after a wind ordinance is adopted, but for now, the taxpayers listed on the attached table are the only landowners in Montcalm County who have publicly dedicated their desire to have Douglas Township adopt a wind-friendly ordinance by the signing and recording of their leases. Bottom line, Douglas Township property owners who have not signed Apex leases pay almost 97% of the cost of operating Douglas Township and the other local governments in Montcalm County. So why would you listen to anyone else? Why are some township officials even considering the possibility of allowing 670-foot tall wind turbines in Douglas Township while dismissing the legitimate health, safety, and welfare concerns of the 97%? In 1776, they called that taxation without representation. It's called the same thing today. Submitted by Robert Scott, Sydney Township.
Anyone else have public comment?
Just to follow up. I have some things to share with you.
Could you state your name and, what township you live in?
It's Kathy Craig, Douglas Township. Craig is my maiden name. Kathy Frank still sometimes is on my email. I'm the same person. I want to give you an analysis of public comments for the year 2021 thus far. In a nutshell, public comments at board meetings and PC meetings are overwhelmingly against large-scale wind energy systems in the township. Of the 292 total documented comments regarding wind turbines, 216 were against them, 74%. 53 were for them, that's 18%. 23 were neutral or asking questions, 8%. And of the 53 comments that were for the turbines, 13 came from Apex representatives. 25% of all the pro-wind comments were from Apex. So taking Apex comments out of the equation, 40 comments were for the turbines, or 14%. Please listen to the 74% of people coming to the meetings and speaking against the turbines coming to Douglas Township. So I apologize, I didn't realize there were so many people. I have 5. I've got them broken down and highlighted planning commission minutes versus township board meeting minutes. And there's a chart of all of the different things. So if you take a look at it, it's broken down pretty clearly. You have to share it, sorry. Thank you.
Anyone else? We do have public comment at the end of the meeting also, so. No one else? All right, we'll, go ahead and move into, reviewing the ordinance. I think we'll pick up where we left off at the last meeting, which we were getting into the sound levels. So, go ahead and we'll, look over page 22 is where I believe we finished up. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Everybody good with that, or any changes need to be done?
Just where it says shall not exceed, I I'd like to add at any time.
Uh,
That's right above the sound level, table 1.
Under noise
Oh.
1.
to the time. Where do you want that in at?
Just shall not exceed at any time the sound level, LMAX levels shown in table 1.
Right here,
It just,
shall not exceed at any time. Paul, did you get that correction?
Yes.
Anything else? Good on page 22?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
And I apologize for bringing up things that may have been discussed, but, I'm new at the table here, so, I'd like some clarification. As I look at table 1, we've divided the allowable sign levels between participating parcels and non-participating for different time frames. My question, I guess, is for the participating parcel, is it the intent for those sound levels to be applied across the entire participating parcel? Or is it the intent to protect the noise-sensitive facilities within the participating parcel? The reason I ask is that 50 decibels is less than normal conversation. And if the sound level near the turbine is limited to 50 decibels, that's pretty low. If the intent is, and I certainly understand that it should be, if the intent is to protect adjoining properties, the non-participating parcels, and any noise-sensitive facilities, whether on a non-participating or a participating parcel, that's certainly desirable and understandable. But what I guess I'm not clear on is if the wind turbine is sitting in the middle of a cornfield and there's nothing around it, does the township really care if it exceeds 50 decibels?
it's at the property line.
Yes.
It should be to the property.
It should be the property line, well,
It says boundary line.
yeah, not
Further down.
participating parcel, but under participating parcel, that's the entire parcel that the turbine would be located on. So I'm thinking it would be more appropriate to say, any noise, I keep forgetting the term, noise-sensitive facility, it couldn't exceed those levels on a participating parcel. But if it's a vacant farm field,
Basically, that should say, property line then, rather than participating property. No, residence.
well, but is property line accurate?
That's where the noise level's gonna be measured at.
Well,
For
For
participating and
non-participating
non-participating.
parcels,
Or
it's
non-
registered to the property line. So at the property line of any non-participating parcel, it has to follow the bottom part of the chart. The top part was to allow for the fact that there might be more noise closer to the turbine on participating parcels, but still give some protection.
exactly.
And I would beg to differ with you on 50 decibels and normal conversation. Yeah, we did that once, everybody popped out their phones and we talked about that. I've sat outside my house and used the exact same decibel app, and combining in a field I rent, the decibels were like 45. Now, I can handle that for 10-hour day, and it's kind of part of country life to say, hey, it's harvest season, it goes off at night, and it's off the rest of the year. So to say conversation is 50 decibel, I would prefer we do that, we bring in an expert who displays for us what that means. Because I can tell you, if we all were sitting, or all of you were sitting outside my home during the day, having a conversation at 50 decibels all day long, I'd have you removed. You know, I mean,
I'm not
Yeah,
disputing
no.
that, I'm saying the figures are fine as they relate to the boundary of the non-participating parcels. What I'm suggesting is that we also have a category, instead of just a blanket statement saying participating parcel, a more refined criterion for noise-sensitive facilities, because that's what you're really trying to protect.
what are noise-sensitive facilities?
Well, you define them as dwellings, churches, libraries, schools, and then I think there's a blanket statement that says anything else that the planning commission determines to be a noise-sensitive facility.
But what I don't understand though is if the noise has to be at a certain level at the property line.
Well, if they're saying at the base of the tower, you can't be over 50.
I don't think that was ever said.
That's not.
That's not, that,
But they're saying the whole parcel has gotta be under 50.
no.
Correct. Well, but
That's according to
that's the
this.
way I read it.
Well,
That's the way I read it too.
And that, if that's not the intent, then I think we
Right.
need to
If-
clarify
if
that
you-
in the ordinance.
But is it only consideration for humans or about the fauna out there? Or should I say wildlife and birds and reptiles? What frequencies bothers them? And sound. It's not just about us. Can you answer that?
For the protection of anyone's hearing, be it human, animal, bird,
Correct.
the 40-35 is actually kinda high. But seeing that we've written it so that it's at the property line of non-participating, at least we are getting closer to what should be during the day of 30, or at night of 30, you know, for sleep and that. So I think, for one thing, the top part of that chart was talked about, but it was never really written that way. So I think it's the meaning behind participating parcel, like you said, does that mean anywhere on it?
Right.
Because once you get close to the property line, then it falls under the bottom half of the chart. And in some ways, when we talked about different sounds, memory serves me right, it was to protect the people that lived on the participating. You know, if it wasn't a landowner, say it was someone living in a rental home that was on that property where there was a turbine. You know, so I understand your question, but not sure.
This continuous noise, even if it's people speaking is louder than that, would you want somebody talking to you all night long when you're trying to rest?
Cause it does say, in the next part, if it's a discrete tone, then everything drops by 5, which makes it even more restrictive. So, I guess the question is, are we writing something to protect the leaseholders and the people on their property, or not? Because if we're not trying to protect within the property, then the decibel level at the property line determines it.
I'm not suggesting you don't protect the leaseholders. I'm just saying that, to me, that's not clear. When I see participating parcel, it could mean several hundred acres of farmland with no dwelling, no school, no any noise-sensitive facility on the property.
But wildlife.
But wildlife.
I think.
But again, is that the
Really
intent?
I didn't think it was. I thought it was just for their house on a participating. We're not, I don't think we're trying to limit the noise out in the middle of a cornfield.
Well, and that's
on
how
a
I.
participating
Exactly.
park.
I guess it would have to be how it was ever interpreted, because I can see both sides of it. It's right out in the middle of a 100-acre field.
But it should be a participating residence or a participating.
And air density and vegetation and all that changes that.
Right.
And how fast does sound travel?
Would it be fair to say in that, to insert where it says participating parcel, noise-sensitive facilities on a participating parcel?
I'm definitely good for that. Is that all right?
To me. I don't know about you.
I think we should just go to non-participating parcel, that sound level there,
Well,
or straight across the
we
board.
can vote on it.
Oh, you mean go with those sounds for straight across the board?
Yeah, the bottom one, yeah. For the participating and non-participating.
Is there a concern for the wildlife
It's still
on this board?
Yeah.
That,
to
I
me it
don't
is.
feel like that's a
Yeah,
Great
question.
concern.
You know, a lot of people out there that like to hunt, so.
You can't destroy everything.
Okay, let's do this. Let's go ahead and just vote on it, and we'll go, majority will have to, we'll rule on it. We would like to add in, sound-sensitive areas and participating parcels. Does that sound right?
Non-participating.
Well, we kind of, don't we have two things going on here?
Yeah, you
There's,
got two things.
there's the adding in of describing noise-sensitive facilities on participating parcels,
Right.
and there's the concern for wildlife. And if you set one up and take that vote right now, then are you gonna take a vote on the other one?
I didn't think wildlife was in it right now. I thought, participating, sound-sensitive areas and participating parcels is what we were talking about right now.
But
With
we
that
could
top-
wipe that completely out if we say, let's protect the wildlife as well. The wildlife is everywhere, so then that vote becomes a moot point. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't forget livestock.
Yeah, you're correct.
What's the pleasure of the committee then? Let's vote then on the, adding sensitive areas and participating parcels. Baldwin?
I vote yes on the.
Yes. Snyder? Yes.
On what
Well,
exactly?
we're gonna put in the participating parcels, we're gonna put sound-sensitive areas that it has to fall under that. We've got 4 votes right now. Wells,
Nay.
It has to fall
Right.
under that.
Rush,
No.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna add in sound-sensitive area into, participating parcel.
That's for a dwelling on a participating.
Right. If somebody has a rental in the middle of that, it has to fall underneath
If they
that,
live there.
right there.
If the rental is owned by the participating
Right.
person.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Or if they live
If
there,
it's a
tiny house.
dwelling, it's a dwelling, doesn't matter who owns it.
Okay, but
If it's located on the participating parcel.
But if it's a non-participating
Right, it will.
owner, then
it'll go
it'll have
underneath
a separate boundary line.
Yeah, if it's a separate parcel, then
If it's a separate,
it's not a, then it's not a
participating,
participating parcel.
then it falls under the bottom category.
Right, which is more restrictive.
right.
Right. Anything else to add to this or move on?
There's just no consideration for wildlife.
should be a consideration for wildlife.
We'll move on then to page 23. We're moving on to page 23 then.
I'm good.
Under paragraph 5, and I apologize, my page numbering may be different than yours because I've already done some edits from last meeting, so my pages are different. But under number 5, post-construction sound survey, it references, near the middle of the paragraph, it references subsection I above. And I couldn't figure out what subsection I, it was referring to. I wondered if it was actually referring to table 1.
Yeah, that's one of those cross references that Spicer worked through the ordinance, you know, the order change, and that just appears to be one that they missed. But yeah, that was intended to be table 1 as it came from Spicer.
So it should be, rather than subsection I, it should be table 1, correct?
So we're gonna change it to in compliance with table 1.
Correct. Anything else on 23?
Also in the bottom of paragraph 5, last phrase, they're required to obtain compliance through mitigation or other measures.
That's on the next page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I would agree on that page, on that line that he just read, which is the bottom of that paragraph, that earlier on, we talked about when things were out of compliance, that the turbine would be off and compliance would be attained within 30 days.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna
Should we-
suggest. So
should we use
just
the
take that
same
prior
thing?
language and insert it here.
Yeah. And scratch the mitigation or other measures.
Scratch that. Through mitigation and other
To be
measures,
required to obtain compliance within 30 days.
right?
And the turbine will be off during that time.
Right. Paul, you get that?
Yes.
Okay.
The last paragraph on that page says periods complying with the general method for routine measurements. There's two, as I understand it, there's two methods. There's the general method and there's the precision method. I'd like to have that changed from the general method to the precision method for routine measurements.
What paragraph is that?
It's at the bottom of page 24. Right here where it says general method.
Under 5.1.
Everyone understand that?
It makes me wonder why we're even going over
Precision.
the majority doesn't even want any wind towers, period. But, why is it again? Because we threatened with a lawsuit? How much money has already been spent doing this that could have been used for litigation?
Well, we have to have an ordinance, so that's why we're here, so. Anything else on 24?
No.
On paragraph 6, subparagraph 3 and 4, the wording is identical. This is more of an editorial thing, but I'd suggest combining those two, with the exception of the last sentence in, subsection 4.
What'd you
So where it says nighttime measurement period and then daytime measurement period, the requirements are the same in both.
That's both for participating parcels.
Yes.
If they're not participating or addressed. 2 pages later, I think it is.
I would like to see them combined and just remove that sentence from point 4. Because we're writing this for the health and safety, welfare of our community. There shouldn't be we presume that compliance one time will be compliance another. Making a presumption, they both need to be done, so I would agree, a nighttime measurement and a daytime measurement for however that can be written combined, that it would be both together.
Mr. Chairperson, can I offer you a comment here? One thing you may want to consider, this is something that I take from having done, I forget how many times it was, we did, I think, about 8 different rounds of post-construction sound study up at the Mason County facility for consumers energy. And one of the most difficult challenges they had was actually mobilizing for events in advance. You have to kind of track the weather conditions for when maximum noise levels are gonna occur. It has to be a very precise conditions where you got low wind speeds at ground level, higher at high elevations, called an inversion, and sufficient winds overall and wind directions to do your study. And it becomes very difficult to get attended measurements all the time when you've got your loudest conditions. And that sound study would have been much benefited if there had been allowance for unattended measurements. And in fact, the consultant who was doing the post-construction study on behalf of the county up there would have much preferred to do that, and felt very strongly that he understood so much about the sound characteristics of noise generated from wind turbines versus general atmospheric noise, that it is possible with a recording of unattended measurements to pull out that which is just the wind turbine noise. And so one thing I think you ought to consider is writing in something here, which Spicer did not, that allows for unattended measurements in situations where there's difficulties in obtaining maximum power production during periods of attended measurement. Now, exactly how to weave that in, I haven't given some precise thought to yet, but if you understand